Hi, it's Mrs. Carter, and this is First Chapter Friday. It's November, and I know we enjoy November because we usually get a big turkey dinner and some pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. But did you know November is also Native American History Month? Yeah, it is. So, to recognize that, I am going to be reading the Navajo Code Talkers, which is a little different than what we usually read because this is a nonfiction book. You can find it in the back section, nonfiction at 940.5 BAK. If you need assistance finding this book, I would be glad to help you. Um, this is a very important book to read. You may not be aware that the Navajo Native Americans helped us win World War II. This is a short chapter, but we'll read to find out. Just to give you a little idea, when America was at war for World War II, we had a difficult time sharing communications over radios because our enemy nations would decipher our codes and figure out what we were going to do. So we got the Navajos to create a secret code so that we could win the war. So I'm going to go ahead and read just the first chapter. It's called America Joins World War II. World War II was a global war. It involved most of the world's nations. Powerful countries formed military alliances. These alliances involved more than 100 million people from 30 different countries. It quickly became the most widespread war in history. In 1937, Japan was at war with China and controlled most of Asia. The United States stopped exporting steel, iron, and aviation fuel to Japan. This was done to weaken Japan's ability to attack nations in the Pacific. Even so, the Japanese unexpectedly attacked the U.S. Navy at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. The Japanese had listened to American radio broadcasts. They knew the U.S. naval fleet was stationed at Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, Japanese fighters dropped bombs on American soldiers who were still asleep in their beds. More than 2,400 civilians and American soldiers died in their beds. President Franklin D. Roosevelt quickly declared war on Japan. Within 2 weeks, he demanded an air attack on Japan's mainland. American planes, ships, and troops were spread out across the entire oceans and in many different countries. Victory depended on the U.S. military finding a way to communicate. They needed to share locations and battle plans without the enemies using that information against them. And we have, of course, there are nonfiction text features. I've got a photograph here, and that is soldiers working for the Japanese Army Radio Corps were specially trained to use radio equipment during World War II. So that's how they were able to listen in on our communications. And there's also a painting of Pearl Harbor. Okay, so Philip Johnson's idea. The U.S. military created secret codes for their messages. However, the Japanese were quick to decipher them, so the Americans made the codes more difficult. But then the codes became so complicated that it took hours to translate simple messages. During battle, delayed messages could be deadly. They needed a simple yet unbreakable code. Philip Johnson, an engineer from Los Angeles, read about the military's efforts to create such a code. He believed he had the solution. As the son of missionaries, Johnston grew up on a Navajo Indian reservation. He knew that a code based on the Navajo language would be nearly impossible to break. And then we have a little picture of him here and a little side note on Philip Johnston. In 1896, when Philip Johnston was 4 years old, his missionary family moved to Arizona to work on a Navajo reservation. Johnston grew up with the Navajo children. He played with them and he learned the Navajo language and customs. When he was 9 years old, Johnston served as an interpreter at a conference between Navajo leaders and President Theodore Roosevelt. All right. So let's get back to the very end of our chapter. Johnston contacted Marine Corps offices and set up a meeting with Major James E. Jones. He convinced Jones that the difficulty of the Navajo language combined with the secret code would be impossible to break. The Japanese would no longer be able to understand the U.S. radio communications. In March 1942, Jones arranged for Johnson to meet with Major General Clayton Vogel and Colonel Weathered Woodward from the U.S. Marines. Their meeting went well. The Marines agreed to try Johnson's idea. Now they needed to find Navajos willing to enlist in the Marines. And then we also have a photograph of a group of Navajo Native Americans outside of their traditional home, which is called a hogan. And we also have a letter right there, and that is General Vogel's letter to the Marines recommending the Secret Code project. That is the first chapter, and it just sets up for more information about the Navajo Indians and their willingness to help create a code so that we could win World War II. This book is available in the library, and it is also available on Myon. So every student in this school can log on right now to Myon and finish up this book, Navajo Code Talkers. If you're more of a graphic novel person, I do have Navajo Code Talkers in graphic novel, and I have Code Talkers in a timeline. So both of these are available in the library, and I am sure something similar is available on Myon as well. If this is something that interests you very much, I am going to pop a video down below, and it is a very short documentary. I think it's 5 or 6 minutes on the Navajo Code Talkers. So have a wonderful day.